Good afternoon, everyone. Corey Anderson here. Today is Tuesday, the 16th of August, 2016. And today we're going to go over a lovely book called You by Charles F. Haanel. I know I've talked about this book in my other videos. This is by far one of my favorite books. I started reading it when I was 18, right before graduating high school. And the older I get, the more I realize how important this information is. So here I am making this video on our lovely book called You. So let's learn a little bit more about you, shall we? Like I said, this book is written by Charles F. Haanel, and this one was written in 1927. And here's a picture of Charles F. Haanel, if you guys are interested in seeing it. And let me read you a little bit more. I know there was a page talking a little bit about him, that he is the founder of the Master Key System, author of the New Psychology, Mental Chemistry, and Social Science. He was a member of the American Society for Physical Research, the Science League of America, and the Authors League of America. So this guy was definitely, responsible for a lot of things, and he was a part of a lot of things, especially when it came to the New Thought movement. And for those of you who don't know what the New Thought movement is, it's an era of time where, individuals, they got the philosophy, and with just New Thought movement, how can you really explain it? It was just a movement where people were thinking newly, thinking at a new age, thinking more advanced, just greater and grander thoughts. And that's what the New Thought movement is, because it all revolves around the philosophy of one God, one consciousness, one substance, and how we are all embodiments of that substance, just like religion. All philosophies, even sciences, they're both branches of the same tree. I believe Albert Einstein actually said that science and religion are the branches of the same tree. And you need these two together to find what really is, because they're the two complements. For science explains, our world within, religion explains our world within, and how our thoughts manifest in our character, and how thoughts become things, and how we're spiritual beings, and how the kingdom of heaven is within us, our world within, and how, just how we become what we think about. That's what the Bible really is all about. It's like a metaphysical book, and science teaches of the things on the outside, material things, and how things come from electrons, and those electrons group themselves together and form atoms, and how those atoms get together and form molecules, and how those molecules get together and then form the cell, which is the basis of man, and then those cells get together and form man himself, and how all that is brought together through the law of attraction. There's just a lot to go over, and there's still tons to learn. There's still tons that we're learning. We've read, I believe, 8 books now that we've shared on our channel. There's still tons to learn, and if you're still with me learning, I want to congratulate you, because there's still much more. And with all that being said, let's get started with our book, shall we? So You by Charles F. Haanel. Introduction. Matter in motion and ether under strain constitute the fundamental principles with which we have to do in physics. These are both vibratory activities. We speak of them as if there were two principles. There is, however, but one principle, with a dual manifestation. It is cause and effect. Matter in motion puts ether under strain, and ether under strain puts matter in motion. All phenomena in the universe are the result of the operation of this basic principle. Let us check up on those which we are most familiar. Power. Force, all power, energy, call it what you will, resolves itself into two divisions, kinetic and potential. Kinetic is actual power and is invariably associated with motion. There can be no motion without something to move. Kinetic power is therefore matter in motion. Potential energy, or potential power, is power at rest. Reserve power, power distributed through space, or ether under strain. All force, all power, all energy is then a vibratory activity. I just want to add something. When I took physics in high school, they put this thing called mechanical energy. Okay, mechanical energy stands for both kinetic and potential at the same time. Now I want to give an example for that. Okay, so if you have 100%, you're always going to have 100% mechanical energy, okay? But that 100% will be divided evenly between, kinetic and potential. If kinetic energy is matter in motion and it associates with action, the potential energy is the power that is created before that motion takes place. For example, let's say somebody, like a boxer, okay? A boxer goes to throw his punch, okay? When the boxer brings his hand back, okay, when he brings it back, it's 100% potential energy, because all the force then gets, distributed or gained. All the force becomes, what is that word I'm looking for? It's a good word. Anyway, you get the point. All force, all potential power, it's all 100% potential as it's back here, okay? And as he throws his punch, okay, and the bag's over here, when he reaches halfway, it's 50% potential and then 50% kinetic, okay? And then when he actually makes the contact with the bag, okay, that's when it becomes 100% kinetic energy and then 0% potential, because he took all that potential energy that he built over here and he exerted it and released it all in this kinetic energy when he hit the bag, okay? Ether under strain and matter in motion, the two principles of the same thing. Okay, now next we have light. The Earth is one of the major bodies of our solar system. As it pushes its way around the sun with the speed of a cannonball, it puts the ether under strain, and in doing so causes the atmosphere, which consists of atoms of hydrogen and nitrogen, to become incandescent. We thus have the phenomena of light. Light is then a vibratory activity. It puts the ether under strain. Okay. So as it's pushing its way around the sun with the speed of a cannonball, it puts the ether under strain. So remember, ether under strain and matter in motion are the two principles of the same thing. So ether under strain is 100% potential energy. Okay. So what's happening is all this potential energy is starting to be put under strain, and in doing so, the atoms which consist, or the atmosphere which consists of atoms of hydrogen and nitrogen, which are molecular structures, to become incandescent, means that which they light up, and gives us the phenomena of light. Light then becomes, light. It's something you can see, it's what lights, that's what allows you to see this laugh rock. So light is then a vibratory activity. And next we have heat. But the Earth not only moves through space, which is filled with ether, with the speed of a cannonball, but it revolves upon its axis at a rate of 2,000 miles an hour at its greatest circumference, with a gradually decreasing rate of motion until we reach the poles, where there is little or no motion. Okay, so a little illustration. So here we have our sun. Okay, the source of all life and energy. I'm going to put my book over here. So here's the sun, okay, and here's planet Earth. Earth is revolving around the sun in this way. Okay, and as it's doing that, okay, because man, this video sucks. more authenticity, less perfection. Because we still have tons to learn ourselves. And I always said, no matter what video I make, regardless of how I think it is, I'm going to put it up there. Because, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, while I'm still doing this, we get to see where we are then, but we're also going to be able to look back at this point to see where we are now. Because it's very hard putting yourself on camera, especially when people get to see how wise you are, how unwise you are, how much you've learned, how much you still need to learn, how much you've grown, how much growing you still need to do. It's not easy being up here, especially when you have people, when they see you, they might be saying things about you. They might be going out doing, whatever. Anyway, we don't even need to worry about that, huh? From what we were saying before, okay, the sun is the center of our solar system, okay, and the sun is the source of all of our life, okay. It releases electromagnetic energy, okay. It doesn't release light, doesn't release heat, doesn't release any of that stuff. All the sun really is a huge ball of electromagnetic plasma, okay. Light, heat, all of that is just a phenomena of what's being manifested on planet Earth, okay? Because as the sun is shooting out its energy, the Earth is revolving around the sun, pushing through that energy, okay? Collecting all of the energy within its own atmosphere, okay? And as it's pushing, the atoms, like he was saying, which are in the atmosphere, become incandescent through the hydrogen and the nitrogen. Hydrogen and nitrogen become incandescent, which turns into light, lighting everything up, okay? And then with heat, at the same time as the Earth is revolving around the sun, it is also revolving around its own axis. So here's planet Earth moving in its own circle, okay? And for matter in motion, for ether under strain, okay? The reason why the planet Earth is hottest at the equator is because that is where the most motion takes place in its own personal rotation, its own orbit, or yes, its own rotation on its axis. Okay, and as it's rotating at the greatest circumference, which will be the equator, which is why it's the hottest, okay, that is the most friction that is being created between matter in motion and ether under strain. Because we learned in physics that energy can never be destroyed, okay, it gets released in different forms, okay, and the more friction that's created between matter in motion and ether under strain releases a lot of heat, okay, that is why it's very hot at the equator. And then as we move towards the poles where there is less motion and not as much friction in the atmosphere, it gets colder. Yeah, it is pretty interesting when when you stop and read about all this and learn about it. Okay. So, okay, let me start over with this one. Heat. But the Earth not only moves through space, which is filled with ether, with the speed of a cannonball, but it revolves upon its axis at a rate of 2,000 miles an hour at its greatest circumference, with a gradually decreasing rate of motion until we reach the poles, where there is little or no motion. This revolution of the Earth constitutes matter in motion as a cause, and ether under strain as an effect. But this time the result is heat, the greatest amount of heat being found at the equator, where the strain upon the ether is greatest, with continually diminishing amount of heat until we reach the poles where there is no motion and consequently no heat. Heat then is a vibratory activity. Sound. Sound is a sensation produced as a result of matter in motion, which results in ether under strain. A word spoken in any part of the world changes the relative positions of the atoms of which the atmosphere is composed. This change is registered in the ether, which is so inconceivably subtle and vibrant that every tone, every letter, every syllable is transmitted to every part of the world, and possibly to any other world. For this reason, a man may make an address or sing a song in New York, and millions of persons may sit in their homes and listen to every word. So sound. we have the ability to create our own sounds with our Visuddha chakra, okay, our throat chakra, okay, our communicative center, okay. We are able to communicate and talk to each other like no other creature on this planet, okay. That is one power that we have above any other creature on this planet, okay. And as we speak, we are creating vibrations with our own, our trachea, our throat. We are creating vibrations, and as we create these vibrations, the sound which it is creating, it's this electromagnetic force which is coming from the words that we speak, okay? It travels along the solar fluid, or the ether, or the mind of God, whatever you choose to name it, this infinite energy which is everywhere present, it's omniscient, it's omnipresent, it's everything, it's manifested as everything, and is the manifester of everything. And as we speak, the vibrations we create, if you haven't been with us through the Master Key System, you gotta check it out, okay? As we speak, the words we create travel along the ether by the law of vibration, okay? It turns into the form, vibration. Everything is vibrating, everything is energy, okay? And as it travels along the ether by the law of vibration, okay, we are able to pick up by our own personal consciousness, our own ears, and we're able to hear that which is being said, or that noise which is being made, only because it is traveling along this solar fluid, this ethereal energy from which all things proceed. Okay, so that one is sound. And like he's saying, sound is matter in motion, okay? It is a cause, and then the ether under strain. The words that travel along the ether will be the ether under strain. The sound was originally caused by matter in motion, but it is carried upon the wings of the ether, the most volatile and active substance of which we can have any conception. Sound is then a vibratory activity. Color. Color is the result of the vibratory activity of atoms of matter or matter in motion. As the frequency increases, the vibrations become shorter and more rapid. The color changes, each change in color being due to the change in the rate of vibration. So basically, like these books, for example. This is one book that I read and that I shared with you guys on my channel. It's called The Instant Millionaire, and this book I haven't read yet, but I got it for free when I graduated from West Tech College for being my fitness training program. And I actually met this man, Gary Bernhardt. He's a preacher. He's a speaker of God, and he has his own church, and he has, from what I remember, he also has several restaurants. But I started reading it. I didn't get too far because there were, a lot of other books that I'm interested in reading too. But aside from all of that, okay, these two books, the only reason why this appears orange and this appears red is simply because of the rate of vibration, okay? Red vibrates at a slower frequency, okay, so it would be more of a longer wavelength, okay? And then orange travels at a quicker vibration, a faster frequency, which makes the color more brighter. And likewise with people, for example, which is why health and wellness is so important for us, because we have 7 chakras within our system, your 7 energy centers, also known as the 7 gates, or the 7 governors of the spirit. It is the anatomy of our own personal spirit. And when we're healthy, when we're, fit and well, and when we're eating right, and we're taking care of our body, we ourselves are performing our daily tasks at a higher rate of vibration, okay? You feel the energy from people who are at a high rate of vibration. You feel the energy from people who are in a good mood. You feel the energy from people who have a high vibration. As to where someone was in a lower vibration, they would be more mellow, more chill. They may not exercise. They may feel really bad. They might not exactly eat to the best of their abilities. They might not And you feel the lowness and the drainage of their energy, especially when you're somebody who has high energy and you're in an atmosphere with low energy. You're kind of going to be, going to have to fight to keep your positivity up. And that's also another thing that we would learn about, is something called places of power. Like, let's say when you go to different gyms, for example, some gyms are more, I guess you say, intimidating for people, because they have more of just more people that are in shape, like maybe a 24-hour compared to Planet Fitness. Planet Fitness is more of a average Joe's type gym. It's not so intimidating. It's not so, it's for people who have that social anxiety and need to start somewhere. But aside from all of that, okay, let us continue, because next we have mind. Okay, consciousness is the inner, and thought the outward expression of mind. Every human being and most animals have innumerable aerials, all reaching out into space, ready to contact every thought, every inspiration, every indication of danger that their immediate environment may contain. These minute aerials, or hairs, one of which is attached to every pore of the body, are stirred into activity by the vibrations from the sun. When the sun sinks behind the horizon, they, like the Arabs, quote, fold their tents and silently steal away, end quote. We are then no longer conscious, we go to sleep. Consciousness then is a vibratory activity and is due to the vibrations which reach us from the sun. Remember, the sun is the source of all life. It is this huge ball of electromagnetic plasma, and it's releasing consciousness energy, the solar fluid, the ethereal fluid from which all things proceed. So in a way, we all live and move and have our being in the sun, And we also learned in our NASM book, when we were going to school to be fitness trainers, that the cells of our body only take the foods which we eat and distribute it as carbs for protein and all this and that for each structure of its cells. It only gets set into activity by the sunlight, okay? And even your body itself, it's only set into activity by the sun, which is why it's so important to go out and get at least 20, 30, 40, 50, even an hour of sunlight each day, because this is essentially where we all came from. All space is a storeroom of energy, which emanates from the sun, and consciousness is caused by the contact of the human brain with the electromagnetic vibrations of which the luminiferous ether is composed, and which have their source in the sun. Each of the planets is passing through this electromagnetic field of force, forming an electromagnetic field of its own. These vibrations are being constantly impressed upon the ether and are received by each individual in accordance with his ability to receive, for the brain is a receiving instrument and must be in tune with the vibration, otherwise it does not register. Mind or consciousness is then a vibratory activity. Okay. And also from the Master Key System, remember, the brain is the most wonderful piece of attachment or mechanism of attachment which we have as beings, because that is what really individualizes a person from everyone else, because there's only one spirit, one consciousness, and we are all embodiments and individualizations of this one consciousness. And it is through the body, it is through the human brain, it is through everything of which this human form of what we are composed of consists, that separates each person from the other. Although we're still the same, behind the mask we wear, we're all one. But yet it is from this mask that we wear which we become individuals and have our own lives. Life. The personal constituents of a mob might be exactly the same as those of an army. The difference is that one is organized and that the other is not. A single atom is not material, it is simply a definite amount of energy, and by itself would be absolutely immaterial. But when these atoms are combined and organized, they assume the characteristics of the whole, of which they are a part. A part cannot be equal to the whole. On the other hand, the whole cannot be greater than the sum of all of its collective parts. and organically. Each part is as essential to the whole as a whole is to the part. Wow. So every atom, every cell of your body is just as important as to where the collective cells of your body is. The individual cell has its own intelligence, has its own things that it does within your body. You have certain cells that digest your food. You have certain cells that create muscle. You have certain cells that create energy for your muscle. Like these cells have their own individualized structures, but without those specific cells, the whole can't exist. As a whole, each part is as essential to the whole as the whole is to the part. And likewise with all of us, we are all a part of the grand scheme of life, and each and every single one of us is just as essential to the great scheme of life as the grand scheme of life is as essential to each and every part that it manifests. If then an organism is conscious and intelligent, the atoms of which that organism is composed must be conscious and intelligent. Just as a single soldier might have a very small amount of power, but if combined with 100,000 other similar soldiers, and thoroughly drilled and organized, a very considerable amount of power would be developed. The atom, of which all organic or inorganic substance is created, is immaterial, conscious, and intelligent. The degree of consciousness and intelligence which is manifested in an organic body will then depend upon the degree of organization, and the harmony or inharmony which is manifested will depend upon whether the mob spirit or the spirit of efficiency and service prevails. And that's very interesting how he says that, because even all of these wow, because when you think about it, even let's say our own intelligence, for example, when we do go out and exercise, when we do get our exercise for the day, and when we eat right, and we feel great, our thinking becomes clear, like our consciousness becomes more alive, as to where we weren't taking care of our body, and all our cells were everything that we are made out of wasn't performing to its fullest. Then how could we perform to our fullest? The individual atom has no density. Density is an attribute of matter, and one atom has no material attributes. It is only when millions of them are organized into form that they assume material attributes. The atom is the unit, and man is an organization of these units. As Mr. Edison says, quote, "I believe that our bodies are made up of myriads of units of life. We have assumed that the unit is the man, which we can see, and have ignored the existence of the real life units, which are those we cannot see." End quote. And what are those real life units, as we were just talking about? They are the things that actually compose and get together to build the full life unit, man itself. The aggregate of these life units is the ether, which embodies the ultimate spiritual principle, and represents the unity of all the forces and energies from which spring all phenomena known to man, whether physical, mental, or spiritual. Such vibrations are, however, not the result of motion in one direction. The planets, which are gigantic dynamos, not only push their way through the ether at incredible speeds, but they revolve upon their axis, and thus twist the ether into spiral form. The lines of force which reach us from the various planets consist, therefore, of vibrations in spiral form. And like I was mentioning earlier, our 7 chakras within our system are our own personal 7 gates. Okay, we have 7 planets in the solar system. I don't know why I just put a 4 right now. We have 7 planets in the solar system, okay, and each and every single one of our chakras is a representation of the 7 planets. And the 7 planets are also known as the 7 aspects of God, or the 7 lamps of God, or the 7 spirits of God. And these 7 gates that you have within your body is the anatomy of your own human spirit. It's what constitutes your own vibrational, energetic, spiritual being, your own personal soul. And how he says here that all of these planets are pushing around the ether, all of these planets are also revolving around their own axis, all of these planets creating their own personal vibrations, okay? And we are all receiving the vibrations from all of these planets. And we are receiving these planets in spiral form. And in our book, Wheels of Life, we're going to be reading that to you too, that the Wheels of Life is your chakra systems, also known as your discs, and they form in spiral form. You know, they release energy in spiral form. They receive energy in spiral form. And as he is saying right now, the various planets consist, therefore, of vibrations in spiral form. Wow, that's pretty cool. When these lines of force are crossed by a second or a third planet, the electrons necessarily revolve around each other, and the first step in organization takes place. The electron is then no longer a point mass, but a mass having an axis of rotation, an arc orbit, the rapidity of motion, the size and shape of the orbit in which it moves, and the number of electrons involved determine the nature of the atom which is eventually evolved. As long as the electrons continue to move indefinitely, they remain electrons. But when they are grouped in a definite system, revolving about a central nucleus like a miniature solar system, they then constitute an atom of matter. These units, aggregating into different systems, form the elements. From the elements in more complex combinations, the chemical substances are made, which are what? The molecules, which then get together to perform, or get together and create the cell. The inorganic substances are relatively simple combinations of bases and acids. The organic substances, which we are made out of, are more complexly compounded, and these substances, or some of them, when arranged in a mechanism called a cell, are capable of certain processes: assimilation, excretion, growth, sensation, and reproduction. When an organism works in a self-sustaining system, we say that it is alive. Form. Form is the result of the concentration of matter, and the concentration of matter implies the dissipation of motion. Wherever there is an aggregation of matter, there must be an equal absorption of motion. Oh, wow. The concentration of matter and the concentration of matter implies the dissipation of motion. So when something takes on form, it has little to no motion. It is very stilled motion. And wherever there is an aggregation of matter, there must be an equal absorption of motion. So the more denser the matter is, the more dense the material is, the more it absorbs motion. Involution and evolution alternate indefinitely. Both processes are going on every instant. The ebb and flow of the forces of nature are ceaseless. All form, organic or inorganic, is the result of the combination of earth, air, fire, and water, and each of these in turn are derived directly or indirectly from the sun. Without the energizing rays from the sun, there can be no possible motion. And there's something I want to add on to that, because we are getting to the end of this introduction, and how he's saying earth, air, fire, and water are all elements which come from the sun. Okay, and all these elements we have within us. Okay, and as a spirit, our mind, it is the fire. It is our own personal fire that has been given to us, and we are these spiritual beings inhabiting this material body. We're living in this material form. And what have we learned about our body? It's made mostly of water, right? And if life is created by the Spirit, and we are all embodiments of the Spirit, we all have the power to create our own life. And if we are this Spirit, then we ourselves are this fire. We are this fiery energy which creates things. And how amazing that form, like we took on this human form that is made mainly of water. And water and fire are the two opposites of each other, and that makes perfect sense, because our body has to be made out of water in order to contain the fire of which we are. Wow, that's actually pretty cool. The solar fluid is the ether, which holds in solution every possible form of matter. This ether is in a state of high vibration, is the breath of life, and its lower vibration in its inorganic form, or matter. All form is then a vibratory activity. And that is the end of our introduction of You by Charles F. Haanel. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching. I don't know how many people actually watch this, or even actually take their time to watch all of this, but you know, it's something that I enjoy to do because it helps me to keep growing, you know, and I've always wanted to inspire people, and I know that just seeing somebody do this for themselves and sharing it inspires people. And regardless of, you know, like I was saying before, how much you know, how much you think you know, there's always still more to know. There's always still more to learn, because that is what we are all here to do. We're all here to grow. We're all here to be reflections, you know, of our Creator, you know, because in reality we are this thing, you know, embodied in this physical form. You know, it is through us that it continues to create, and it, you know, it learns about itself. And you know, with all that being said, thank you for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe and share it, and I'll see you on the other side of the galaxy. And don't forget our daily affirmations, that we are the lights of the world, you and me, and together we can make a difference. Now, with all that being said, I'll see you guys soon.